Welcome to Panama. And our adventure starts here as I'm picked up from the airport after catching an overnight flight from Denver straight to Panama City. My early arrival is going to work out to my advantage today. We had about 4 hours to kill until the other guests arrive, so I got a nice little tour of Panama City to start. As we moved into the central part of downtown Panama City, I was impressed not only with its size, it was a little bit larger than I was expecting, but also cool to see a lot of modern buildings and high-rises. And another advantage of being the early arriving guest meant not only did I get a delicious Panamanian breakfast, but then we got to go out birding in some of Panama City's hotspots. But before we jump straight into the birding, let's do a quick overview of some basics of what this trip is going to be like. If your geography is a little rusty, well, this is Panama. It's the last sort of country before you get to South America, with Costa Rica bordering it on the west. The first couple days of the tour starts in the central part of the country here in Gamboa. This is right near the Panama Canal and also right next to the infamous, in the birder world, Pipeline Road. We then catch an in-country flight to the west to David, where we'll explore the cloud forest there, and this will be our shot at the resplendent Quetzal. We then fly back to Gamboa and spend a couple days there cleaning up any species we may have missed before jumping in the van and hitting the road to the east to Tortí. We'll spend a few days in Tortí exploring the lowlands before then driving further east to the Darien, where we end the trip and have our shot at the Harpy Eagle. With that all out of the way, now let's get to some Panama City birding. At our first location, my official first birding bird of the trip is this red-crowned woodpecker.
Okay. There was like a tiny one, like a garden emerald, buzzed around there. Oh, round up.
Also nearby was a nice mix of tanagers.
Blue grays, I usually see a lot lighter color underneath.
How about that third one?
And it was nice to get on the board with our first parrot of the trip in this yellow-crowned Amazon, which had the characteristic of pretty bird, ugly call. After getting a quick but good look at this saffron finch, we then found an early contender for my favorite bird of the day in this barred antshrike. Just listen to that call. And I tried for at least 5 minutes to get good footage of this prothonotary warbler, but it turns out warblers in Central America are just as tough as they are here. Who'd have guessed? Before we move on, I wanted to go over a few other basics, especially these common species that we saw everywhere and won't be featured much in the video series. These great-tailed grackle are so common across Panama that we saw thousands of them. In fact, they're even in the airport. Likewise, these black vultures and turkey vultures circle over your head no matter where you are.
I saw a couple of those yesterday and one the day before.
And lastly is this tropical kingbird. So again, it's not that these aren't great species, it's just they're everywhere, and yes, we saw them. Back in Panama City, we were here at our second location for the day, which was a little wetland not far from the airport. And I was quickly reminded that what lurks in the water here isn't what I'm used to in Colorado. First up the bat here at this location is this groove-billed ani, a channel favorite. I was hopeful on this trip to get a look at the greater ani, which would then fill out my ani trifecta. And what do you know? About 50 feet down the path, here they were.
It's a funny little rocket.
We then made our way to the airport to pick up our last guest, but on the way, we were still seeing good things. Our guide stopped for this, and I thought, oh, a great blue heron. Neat. But it turns out that's not quite what it is. This is a Cocoy's heron, which can only be found in Panama and Central America. It's very similar to the great blue heron, but the distinct difference is in the dark cap on the Cocoy goes below the eye level. Then, to top off the morning, we got our first kingfisher about 50 feet away from the heron in this Amazon. Later that afternoon, with the group now fully complete, we decided to head out for a late afternoon birding outing before dinner. In this afternoon outing was more meant to get to know the other people in the group, so YouTube Scott was pretty subdued.
Summer test.
Yeah.
And even though this was just a chill outing out before dinner, don't get me wrong, my camera was still at the ready if anything good presented itself. And well, it did. And I really snapped back into action as this red-legged honey creeper gave me one of my favorite images for the whole trip. All in all, not a bad day of birding, and the tour hasn't even started yet. Coming up in episode 1, we're on the infamous Pipeline Road where I discovered the worst restroom in the world. I would not use that. I feed a hummingbird by hand, and we find out that our guide loves taking us off trail into the jungle, but then we realize that it almost always pays off.
Oh yeah.